we're given a little bit more of information to try and understand Hakari. I do like his, like, the way that he's looking at all this right now, I think is how I want to put it. Because with the curses and stuff becoming public knowledge, everything's getting let out to the general population and whatnot. He's eyeing it as, how can this play to my advantage? How can I use this new, like, big reveal in society to pretty much the most optimal way possible in my favor? I do like that, just because he's not like a bad guy, but he's still somebody looking for opportunity and trying to do like his own thing. Like, clearly he's not tied to the Jujutsu High or like any of the other faction. He's just trying to do his own thing right now, and he wants to start it with his fight club and use Yuji, as a component in it. I'm like, Yuji definitely like could fit pretty well. Like, when they're I mean, to a degree, obviously the Sukuna stuff would be like a bit of a high risk factor in any of his plans. But like, in the general idea of how Yuji works, if you were gonna have some form of fight club, whether it was gonna be against, two sorcerers or like one guy against a cursed spirit, someone like Yuji would be really good, just because like he's got a very easy to understand set of abilities just to watch. Like, he's pretty much just mean mugging and like boxing down anything coming its way and just bashing it into the dirt. So like for spectators, like if he was gonna get like this whole side up into a nationwide kind of a spectacle, like he was gonna get just people from all over to view this and become like massive off of this, then somebody like Yuji, who is a very easy to watch and very easy to understand person in terms of fighting, then bam, like you have got a trump card right there. I mean, that by itself is just gonna be like a continuously useful beast you have on the board. But when he's talking to him, he's like explaining how pretty much everything that people do, has to do with their own passions, their own determinations. And he says like the fever. He's like, it's something like you're getting so worked up, you're just not thinking straight. You can make mistakes. But at the same time, it's that fever that can really drive some people into pretty much directing them towards whatever it is that they're directed towards, whatever their goal is that they're trying to achieve. And he's just doing the thing, kind of laying that out there to like tell them all the different aspects of it. And he does a really smart move, actually, because he mentions like, no, it's like, oh, would you like a drink? And Yuji says no, he's underage and whatnot. And he's like, oh, well, Satoru Gojo can't drink either. And it made sense to a degree of why he'd be like, oh, who's that? I would understand like that aspect, but like immediately afterwards, Hakari just kind of calls him on his bluff on that, because he's like, well, all sorcerers know who Satoru Gojo is. Like, why would you pretend you don't know? And that's, bam, got him right there. He shouldn't have said that he doesn't know, and like, I would have just been like, yeah, that's neat. How come? Like, why? I would definitely act like I know as little as like a regular person would know, because he is like a celebrity. It's like if you were in DC, like you were somewhere on Earth and you mentioned Superman and someone didn't know who Superman was. You'd just be like, what are you talking about? Everybody knows who Superman is. It would just be weird to run into somebody who has absolutely no idea. And he's like asking him like, okay, well, are you a spy for Jujutsu High? And that's when he immediately goes in to start attacking Yuji. When he throws that glass at Yuji, I feel like he could have just literally stood there and it would have done no damage. Like, this guy has like moved cars. I wouldn't imagine like a small glass is like breaking is gonna do much damage, even if it directly hits him in the face. But whatever. Maybe the dude threw it with like some cursed energy into it or something. Hakari's technique is really weird, because he puts his hands out and he like makes these two doors. I don't know if they appeared or if those doors were somewhere in the room and he's manipulating them, because it definitely looks like only doors are there, but I don't see any of them coming from any direction. So I don't know if he's conjuring them up, because there is a part when Megumi is talking to Kirara, and Kirara is pretty much saying how the high-ranking people, and like Pana's talking about it too, is like the conservatives of the Jujutsu type, like the old timers, all the people who are kind of like stuck in their in older ways and whatnot. And they like curse techniques being way more simplistic, way more easy to understand. Someone more like Kugisaki, which is funny because like they bring up like the people, but until recently, Naoya and now Bito were both obviously like high-ranking individuals within the like the old Jujutsu Tech kind of council and stuff. And now Bito is like the most confusing power to me in the whole series. So I don't really know where he's coming from with that. The other guys definitely seem like their powers are relatively easy to understand, but they definitely seem to have some beef against people with like more complicated and hard to understand abilities. So I guess in their world, just like the harder your ability is, the more of a target you seem to be for these guys. Like, you just have something really busted, they're probably coming after you. But while they're like talking, she's like saying how like Hakari's technique is like a perfect example. I guess like whatever it does, it's more than just he's, I guess, messing with doors. I feel like if he's conjuring them up, it has to have some form of spatial ability or something. Because he has to have like a power better than Kirara. Kirara's already seems really good. But on top of that, if Hakari is hyped up to be a potential special grade human like Yuta, then he has to have a really good power. And it can't just be he's manipulating objects around him or anything. It has to be something way higher end, I would assume. Again, it'd be really odd if he didn't have something busted or something like really hard to kind of understand. Some really OP ability that the second he starts to really use it in a fight, you have to pay attention to it to kind of get, to kind of like understand what it does. Like, think about when Yuji and Toto were going up against Hanami, and Hanami was trying to figure out all the different like variables potentially with Boogie Woogie. Like, that should be essentially how somebody going up against Hakari's power would be, I would expect, where it's just like you don't know the extent of it, you don't know the limitations, the rulings of it, and it's just going to come down to what can you do to figure it out if you're going to figure it out in time. Because I don't believe it's just going to be something super plain. Because at least as of right now, those doors that he was using looked like they came out of nowhere, like they were conjured. Reminds me of like Bleach when they have like the doorways going over to the Soul Society, something like that. But Kirara doesn't seem to have like really much of a follow-up when they're talking about like, oh, well, Satoru Gojo always cleans up your messes. And he's like, you know, it's like, why do you guys need us? Like, oh, they're like, well, Satoru got sealed, you know, that's why we lost the situation. And Kirara just seems to be like, huh. I don't think, like, they even say, like, she doesn't, or he, whatever Kirara's character is, like, oh, said individual, see, I'm politically correct, said individual doesn't believe us. But that's when Megumi goes for his whole rabbit escape, so he's gonna pull out of there, I guess. Because I know that this is like just a huge diversion technique. He's either got something planned or he's just gonna try and try and like kick rocks and get out of there. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, my friend, like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But I appreciate every time subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.